Here's a number that will make your blood boil. In 1971, you could buy a house for about $25,000. That same house today, $450,000. Your salary might have gone up maybe 10 times, but the house price, it went up 18 times. Everything, from the car you drive to the food you eat, costs 10 to 20 times more than it did 50 years ago, but your paycheck, it's barely doubled or tripled in real terms. You work harder than your parents did. You're more educated, more productive, but you're poorer. You can't afford a house, you can't afford kids, you can't retire, and you've been told it's your fault. You spend too much on coffee, you don't save enough, you should have invested better. But that's a lie. The system was fundamentally broken in 1971, and it's been stealing your wealth ever since. Not through taxes, you can see, but through a hidden mechanism that siphons wealth from your paycheck directly into the pockets of people who do work or produce. And the craziest part, it's all legal. It's happening right now, and 99% of people have no idea. This is the story of the greatest wealth transfer in human history. And unlike conspiracy theories, every single thing I'm about to tell you is backed by government data and historical records. You can verify every claim. Let me show you exactly how they're robbing you in plain sight. It all started on August 15, 1971. President Richard Nixon appeared on television and made an announcement that changed everything. He was closing the gold window. What does that mean? Since 1944, every US dollar was backed by gold. Foreign governments could exchange their dollars for gold at a fixed rate. This kept the government honest. They couldn't just print unlimited money because they needed gold to back it up. But by 1971, the US had been printing tons of money to fund the Vietnam War and massive spending programs. Countries started demanding gold for their dollars, and the US was running out. So, Nixon cut the link. The dollar became a fiat currency, backed by nothing but a promise. Here's what happened next, and this is where your wealth started disappearing. Before 1971, the money supply was limited. After 1971, there was no limit. The Federal Reserve could create as much money as they wanted, and they did. In 1971, the total money supply was about $600 billion. Today, it's over 21 trillion. That's a 35-fold increase. But our economy, the actual stuff we make and do, only grew about 4 times. So you have 35 times more dollars chasing only 4 times more goods. That's inflation. But here's the key. When they create new money, it doesn't go to you. It goes to banks, to financial institutions, to the people closest to the money printer. By the time it trickles down to you, prices have already gone up. You get the inflation, but they got the new money first. Let me show you how this destroyed your purchasing power. In 1971, the median home cost 2.5 times the median annual income. You could buy a house with about 2.5 years of savings. Today, the median home costs 5.6 times the median income. It takes more than twice as long for 2 people to save for the same house that one person could afford back then. Look at wages versus productivity. From 1948 to the early 70s, if you produced more, you earned more. It worked. But after 1971, productivity kept soaring, while your wages flatlined. You're producing way more value per hour, but getting paid just a tiny fraction more in real terms. So where did all that extra value go? It went to corporate profits. It went to asset prices. It went to the people who own things, not the people who do things. This is called the Cantillon Effect. The people closest to the new money get to spend it before prices rise. By the time that money reaches ordinary workers, prices for housing, healthcare, and education have already skyrocketed. Your wages go up 2 or 3%, but your cost of living goes up 10%. You're losing ground every single year, and it's because the money itself is designed to flow away from you and toward asset holders. Think about it. Since 1971, the purchasing power of the dollar has fallen by 86%. You need 7 times more dollars to buy the same stuff. Wages have barely kept up with that. But assets, the S&P 500 is up 50 times. Gold is up 57 times. If you owned assets in 1971, you're massively richer. If you only had your wages, you're just treading water or drowning. This is the wealth transfer, from workers to asset owners, from the young to the old. And every time the Fed creates more money, it accelerates. Now, let's talk about the 2008 financial crisis. This is where the scam became undeniable. The big banks made reckless bets and crashed the global economy. They should have gone bankrupt. That's capitalism, right? But that's not what happened. The government bailed them out. The Federal Reserve created $4.5 trillion out of thin air through quantitative easing. They bought the banks' toxic, worthless assets. The banks got cash, the Fed got garbage, and you got the bill in the form of inflation. And the part that should enrage you. While banks got bailed out, over 10 million Americans lost their homes. The banks that caused the crisis paid themselves $18 billion in bonuses that same year. They got bailed out with your money and then gave themselves a party. You want to know why you can't afford a house? Because after 2008, the Fed kept interest rates near zero for years. This cheap money flooded into real estate. Huge hedge funds like BlackRock bought up hundreds of thousands of homes, paying cash and pricing you out of the market. Now you rent from them, paying their mortgage and building their wealth. The net worth of the top 1% has exploded since 2008. They gained $29 trillion. How money printing? Bailouts. Every time the government prints money to rescue the rich, they are stealing purchasing power from you. This is the core of how they rob you. When the Fed creates money, it goes to banks and financial markets first. They use it to buy assets like stocks and real estate, driving up the prices. Then, the money slowly filters down the economy. By the time it reaches you as a small raise, the cost of everything has already gone up. You are permanently one step behind. Look at the COVID pandemic. The Fed created $5 trillion in 2 years. $5 trillion. The stock market hit all-time highs. Billionaire wealth surged by $2 trillion and you got a stimulus check that was wiped out by record high inflation in a matter of months. This is not capitalism. It's a rigged system. When you win, you keep your gains. When the rich lose, they get bailed out with your money. You're told we can't afford universal health care or student loan forgiveness. But when Wall Street needed money, trillions appeared overnight. They forgave $800 billion in PPP loans that went to business owners, hedge funds, and celebrities. But your student loans, you have to pay those back. Because the system is designed to protect wealth, not people. The rich get socialism. You get harsh capitalism. In 1965, the average CEO made 20 times what their average worker made. Today, it's over 350 times more. How stock options. When the Fed prints money, stock prices go up and CEO compensation explodes. Your wages don't. It's a direct transfer of wealth from labor to capital, and it's all powered by the money printer. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as it was redesigned to in 1971 to make you poorer while making the asset-owning class richer every single year. Thank you for watching. If this opened your eyes, please share this video, hit that like button, and subscribe for more truths they don't want you to know.